Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bulldozer Investing. Today is December 29th, 2020. It is 7:43 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Just to analyze the markets today, the action was kind of expected. We had some sell-offs. Most of it is probably tax loss, tax gains. I guess some institutions didn't want to risk the 2021 gains, and they probably locked the gains on 2020 because we don't know how the Democrats will play around with the tax bracket. So that wasn't out of a question. It was kind of expected. Just to take a look, I want to look at VIX first. Just to analyze VIX, I did draw a trend line here. We could draw one of many. Let's look at the daily. Zoom in. We do see some type of a pickup, a double bottom. Just to see here, we could possibly see a little lower tomorrow. VIX might come down a bit, but however, I do see VIX having a lower low, which might predict the upcoming first 2 weeks to be maybe a little downside on the market. So if this trend continues, I'm guessing that we could see VIX all the way up to 25 in the first coming of January. So if the market does continue to drop, that should see a rising wedge here. So VIX could test anywhere from 25 to 26 area. Okay, the longer trend here, we could bounce all the way. We could go all the way up to 28. So that's my analysis. So if we see VIX reaching up to this level, I would not be surprised. I am expecting the market to pick up the second week of January, and most likely maybe towards people buying in towards the earnings on the last week of January. So yeah, I do see that stochastics, the MACD is oversold, stochastics is turning around, RSI is picking up on the VIX. So another question that I had was the market kind of finished, I mean, I could say a little bit like flat, but we saw VIX with a 6% increase. So that could play down. So we could test a lower boundary tomorrow or the next few days, but upcoming the next few weeks, we might see VIX increasing a bit. Okay. However, I do see a head and shoulder on VIX. Let's see how that plays out. Okay. Coming back to SPY, just to analyze the market, overall market. Let's zoom in. So there's definitely a rising wedge that I've always talked about. Maybe I drew this on the E-minis. There's definitely a rising wedge. Okay. Now we broke down that rising wedge and we're not able to get in yet, but you could draw it in many different levels. But I see that, you know, SPY wants to test 377, 398, and we'll see what happens from there. But if we do see another lower day, 368, 367 would be the support that I see on the 20-day moving average. So right now, I'm kind of standing in the middle. Like we could both see the VIX increasing with, you know, double bottom, lower, higher lows. So and then we have the SPY. It did bounce off the 20 moving average, 20-day moving average, but we're kind of in the no man's land right now. We might get a push up the next few days to end the year. We do have a short week, so by Thursday we might test 37, 38, 377, 378 area. Okay. I do see the stochastics is bullish. RSI is kind of chilling in. We don't have too much strength, but we'll see what happens. I don't see too much volume in some of the names. However, Apple did have a pretty good volume today. Talking about Apple, let's go ahead and analyze Apple. It is normal to see a sell-off when something is reaching all-time high. So that was expected, and I've said that the other day. Let's look at the 4-hour. I did say that if Apple wants to fill in the gap, we have the 20-day moving average, which is pretty close. So we might start a down. We might start, lower during tomorrow morning and then pick up eventually and test a new all-time high. If it drops, I can expect 130, which is a place where I would start buying calls. Again, it broke out of the rising wedge. It might come down and test it. So 332, lower boundary is one. I'm sorry, when I said 330, I meant to say 132. And then I think we could test 130's worst case. So I'm watching those levels very carefully. Although I'm bullish on Apple, I do see that we went up pretty good, and it's expected to consolidate a bit until the next next leg higher. So I'm on a wait and see game here. One of the other names, Alibaba, a lot of people are probably going to go into the FOMO mode. We missed the drop, let me get in type of thing. It did break above on the hourly. Let's look at the daily though. On the daily, it could fill the gap. Where is 256 area? Let's take a look at the Fibonacci retracement and see how far we did do a retracement. We did touch the 50 and come back. Most bullish scenario would be if we touch 244, but I am expecting more downside on Alibaba and other Chinese names. That's my play. But if you're bullish on Alibaba, I would sell my profits around 245. Okay. Facebook looked pretty strong, even though there were bad news about Facebook and Google. But let's take a look at Facebook. It is trying to break above the cloud. It's being supported by 50 and 20 moving day averages. So as long as we break, I'm sorry, let me draw this trend line. So as long as we break above 279 area, that I would be bullish. I'm looking for 292 area for Facebook. So it's on that wedge. Apple kind of did test its all-time highs, so why not with Facebook? Let's see how that goes. However, again, the VIX, having the higher lows and double bottoming, we could see another sell-off, so I'm kind of being cautious with these names. Now, we saw that Russell was down almost 2%. Even it was lower than 2% today, so it picked up a little bit throughout the end of the day. So that's why we see, you look at my screen here, most of them are red, but what took the hit was pretty much ARK. So all the ARK investments were pretty much down heavily. I think it got a support at, it tried to go above the 20-day. Let's see what happens. Worst case, I would say if you want to get into Russells, wait and see. This is ARKG though. This is the where your CRSP and all the other edit and other things like PACBs are. So those might see a next leg lower around 82. But ARKG ARKK. Again, the same scenario. It did push up to 20 MA moving average. Worst case scenario would be 109. Those are all mainly high flyers. As you can see, the RSI was overbought. It's coming down. The stochastics is coming down. It does have a bearish crossover on the MACD on the daily. Let's take a look at the hourly and see what's going on. This could be a bear flag. It might test tomorrow 126 and go down lower. I'm expecting maybe 117. So heavy sell-offs. Kathy did warn us. She did say that we're probably not gonna basically see all these 100%, 200% on any of the stocks in 2021, and she said that she's expecting 20% growth and maybe cashing out and putting it in the larger caps like Apple and all your FANG stocks. However, I did see that FANG stocks did sell off today as well. So again, the tax season is kind of confusing. I can't really like analyze what's going on 100% because due to the last days of trading, especially today, I think what I'm guessing was the last day of 2020 tax day. So tomorrow we might see a pickup on the Russell and maybe SPY going lower, larger caps Dow going lower, but Russell might go a little bit higher. But I want to see how the daily moving averages hold as a resistance or a support. We'll see on that. A lot of the airline companies were basically flagging. My favorite one is Spirit Airlines. Let's look at the daily. As you can see, I think it's going to pick up. It might test 27.25 and higher, but if you watch closely, the 20-day moving average, it seems like it's a resistance, and it has a gap around 21 area, 2150s, 2170s. So watch out for that. I'm very cautious with all these names, especially these are high-flying stocks. A lot of profit taking might, be happening right now. So what I would do, my strategy would be holding on, sitting tight on my hands, and before I make the next move. You might get like false breakouts and then another leg lower, which I do think that it's going to eventually go into a bullish run, but I just can't know when. So a lot of people just fear missing out and they just dive in on the first breakout and then it just goes lower. So that $2 lower would hurt you, and then you take a loss and then it bounces off, and then people complain about every time I sell something it goes down, everything I buy something it goes, every time I sell something it goes higher, every time I buy it goes lower. Well, you're not paying attention to where you're buying and selling. So that's the main issue. We took as you can see, these names got hit pretty hard. Edit, CRSP. So all these names got pretty much got hit big. So again, the same scenario, kind of bounced off of the 20 MA. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of, because these stocks gained a lot within the 2-3 months, so a lot of profit taking. As you can see, overbought on all the MACD stochastics on RSI. I would kind of chill off. The volume here is sell volume, so you might want to chill off. It might bounce off of the moving averages, but then go on to the next leg lower. So airlines, I'm watching out. Cruises, they go in the same sector. The high flying, the edits, the CRSP, all the PACB, all the Cathy, ARKG stocks went really sold off. Basically, I'm not sure if ARK is selling them off or retail, but it seems like ARK itself is selling them off. That's what I'm thinking. Well, you got other names like Lemonade. Pretty much this is what I'm talking about. Like, you see a heavy sell-off and then a bounce back. It's inside day. Stop right at the previous day's high. It might go to a next leg lower to 98. So these stocks, though, is very hard to predict. Reason why is because low float of shares and at the same time high percentage of shorts. So you might want to see shorts covering and then the next leg lower. So you can see there's good setups, but then again, it's not breaking out. Another name that I'm invested in, basically the only name I'm invested in at this point is Palantir. Now, a lot of people ask themselves, I asked actually, this is what I do when you see this kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row there's a loss. Actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. This is finishing lower lows. Okay. What do you do at this point? Do you sell and cut the loss? So there's lots of factors. How much are you invested in? How much cash do you have to average? Are you a long-term holder, mid-term holder, or are you swing trading? When you're swing trading, first of all, you don't go all in and you do tight stops. Okay. I don't like to do stop losses. Reason why you see these names basically moving sharp, like I saw that PLTR started the day really nice, actually. And then right here, so no, I'm sorry, right here went to like 26 something, and then a heavy sell-off, and it just kept selling off. It's because they're hitting the stop losses. Okay, so a lot of people have tight stop losses on this, and they just like to take the stop losses. But as you can see, pretty much 2450 area is a good support on this stock. And I always say this, and there's a trading range from 24 to, I would say, 30. So if this bounces off, you can see the first, I would say the first bounce off would be to 2690, 27 area, basically in 2743, which is a pretty good resistance for this stock altogether. And then eventually move higher to 2930 area. Okay, I say this to myself: if I was not positioned in this stock and I had a lot of cash, would I be buying at this point? If your answer is yes, then you should not sell. Okay, so if you want to sell a stock, the first question you should say is, if I didn't have it, would I buy it? So if you want to buy it, then you should not sell it, because that's an opportunity. So again, this is basically 30 minutes, but let's look at the hourly chart on this. If this squeezes out, we're going to see pretty good run on this. Okay, I do see a wedge. So my take on this one is that it's due for a bounce. It had enough selling. All the metrics here, stochastics, MACD, it's about to turn up. I would wait. I average cost. I average down my cost. I'm all in, which I mean I shouldn't. It's your own risk, but I have enough cash on my bank to basically, or my other account, to pull it in and average it down more. If it drops down to 22, that's fine. I'm not very scared when I play stocks, because I know where it can go. I know I have enough cash on the side, and I love to average down and wait for the long term. That's what happened to me with another name we talked about, airlines, SPR. Is that, let's look at the daily on this one. Just a great example and a great company. I bought it around pretty bad area, actually. I just thought that we were going to curl up and go, so I bought it around like this level, 24. Crashed down, averaged it, didn't sell it, kept going down. I kept averaging, and I was very patient. At this point, I drew my trend line. Here we are, just took off. I sold. What I did was, my mistake was I sold the day it took off. Just continued higher. So my average cost was around 20. So initial investment was 24, hit 17 areas a couple times. That's where I averaged it down. And then I just waited patiently, and I sold it at 26. So $6 on 20, it's about 45%, which is good. But 45% on, around from July to October, that's about 3 months. I, missed a lot of trades, but that's fine. 45% is pretty good on any stock. If you make, options, maybe you're aiming higher. But another name here that I really like, but I just don't want to get in right now. It might be flagging here for the next upside, but I'm waiting patiently, and I learned big time on the airlines to be very patient. So that's my take. You have to position correctly. You have to have enough money to average down, and patience. I think this was Warren Buffett said that, but Warren Buffett said that, stock market is basically, taking money from the impatient and transferring to the patient ones. So you just wanna be very patient when you're playing at a loss. Okay. Just to put a summary on today, was basically Russell is still selling off. All your high flyers. We warned people. I did say that your blink and some of the chat, the social media, people are like, oh, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. I said, take your profits here, came down, we went back in, and we said my target was reached 53.80, and I said I'm going off. Some people posted this thing is going to 200. I mean, come on. Now, would I be buying this? I would be a buyer at starting here and maybe to 37.22 slowly. Okay. Another name was NNDM. I remember I got bashed by the bulls when I said our targets is reached 10.55. I got out at 10, very top, and then people called me off. Well, it's holding off this trend line, so it hit the 50 fib, which is pretty good. Get in here. Your next cost average would be 775. So it's still a good stock, but again, Russell is losing steam. It's cooling off. So any names that we have mentioned, those high flyers, plug and everything else, yeah, you got to know when to come out. You can't be greedy, because when you do come out at the right time, then you can buy more shares for the longer run. So I actually did not get in where I was supposed to with Palantir, and now I'm stuck at a losing trade. I can't say I'm stuck because I'm probably going to own this name for the next 2 years. Very patient with this. Should have gotten in when we were testing the pitchfork here. It's a perfect hit, and then it just came off. However, I see the volume drying up. Pretty good action after hours. I don't like the after hours or the before hours on Palantir because it's always misleading, but it did bounce off all the way to 24.80s, which was basically all the action was happening today. Let's wait and see what happens. Like I said, I'm always open. Right now, within the last, basically this drop cost me $5,000 on the profits that I made on this stock. So basically leveled out all my profits for this month I gave away in 5 days, which was not nice. But again, I've said to everybody that this channel is about going through my journey of trading, and basically if I can help out with people who can't manage their emotions, I just like to, I'm not basically selling hope here, but I'm on the technical side of things. You just have to see things and say, okay, where can I average down? Averaging down doesn't mean you put all your rest of your cash when a stock drops 3%. I like to average things down on starting from 15% down all the way down to 30 and then 50% down. So don't waste your dry powder, I would say. But I was pretty shocked actually that this thing went down further after 25, 28 area. That might be a level that we will probably start the morning tomorrow with Palantir. And of course, all your Square got sold off. Snap had a upgrade, so Snapchat went on. Twitter finished the day flat. Uber did a pretty good comeback. So all these names I'm just checking. I don't see a good buying opportunity yet. So if I wasn't invested in Palantir, I would have bought Palantir in the low 24s or the mid 24s. That would have been a good area for me. But could it come down more? Of course. It could come down all the way down to here to 23.62. Would I be a buyer there? No. I'm not going to buy until the 21s or the 20. Okay. 21.20, maybe even the 50-day moving average if it curls up around 20.50. I'm raising cash to average down it. I'm not saying it'll go there. I'm just putting a scenario just to teach you guys that I'm not going to buy the stock 50 cent drop. Probably going to buy it $5 drop. Okay. Let's see what happens. When you have 5 days in a row dropping, you usually have a pretty good reaction afterwards, and that's what I'm expecting from Palantir. For Apple, it might see a more downside. Pretty much Russell itself, all the mid to small cap stocks can see more sell-off till the mid-January. I believe the market will pick up after January. And reason I think we did get a Santa rally on all the Russell ones, the large caps besides Apple. I didn't see too much action besides Amazon as well. I do think that because we went up too high, too fast, we didn't get that Santa rally, and the biggest factor was the stimulus. Okay, I don't like to get into politics, but I do believe that if the stimulus bill was to pass, I think it should support American people and American companies and American households than other countries. I mean, I'm not selfish, but I don't really care about other countries' defense systems or their gender rights groups or whatever that we're giving millions away when we have homeless people here that suffered and they went out of job. They're getting a $600 paycheck. So I believe that if we wait a couple more weeks and this gets resolved in a better way, that it benefits Americans, then I'd be more happy. That's my view on this. Neither a Democrat or a Republican. I just think that all politicians are reserved for lobbyists, and they just do their own thing. They have their own agendas regardless of what political party they're in. I just like to see anything that benefits America and American people. That's what I support. So it could be Democrats one term, it could be Republicans other terms. It depends on the candidate, but we just have to see what benefits us. Okay, and I believe that this delay might be frustrating people. I think we're getting checks regardless, the $600 checks, but I hope we get the rest of the $1,400 more, plus all that money going out the country to come in and help the businesses, the small businesses, the restaurants, all the businesses that suffered from this coronavirus, to get that money instead. So we'll see what happens. But again, markets might look scary, but I just think that the sell-offs are not in great volume. The sell-offs are not, it's not like the last year's February sell-off with huge unseen volumes. I'm not seeing that. I believe the institutions are just switching from one area to another. They're cashing. They're trying to plan what's going to come up next year, so it's totally normal. I don't think we have a liquidity issue in the market. Okay, when you have Fed behind the market, I don't think we need to worry. I mean, you could worry about inflation and dollar devaluation, and you need to know where to invest to make sure that the money sitting in your bank is not getting devaluated. Okay, so I believe that the markets will not see a huge sell-off for that reason. That's my point of view. I believe tomorrow we might see a small bounce back. I just am not confident if it's going to hold or not. I'm not confident about the next 2 weeks, but I am confident after mid-January. So for those who are sticking with me on the PLTR, be patient, and make sure you have money on the side, and make sure you just don't average on every single 1% drop. You need to know how to dollar cost average your holdings, and you need to be patient. And patience will reward in the end. I'd rather make 100% on PLTR within the next 5-6 months than make 10% and then lose all the the bounce back. So that's my addition to that. I believe $37.77 and then eventually $46 will be our target for PLTR. Okay. Good night, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can give comments, positive or negative, doesn't matter. As long as it's constructive, I am happy to hear your feedbacks. Please do subscribe and give us a like. Thank you so much. Good night.